What is up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC. Excuse me for a minute. I bring up these notes and close this door. All right. I see YouTube has done its job and not putting out an alert for anybody to get. Awesome. It's always nice when an algorithm helps you out. So, like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined, and we'll see who we get in here so I can have a little bit of conversation. Mainly ninja watchers like Brian Will, who I do not know. Says, "Where's the Transformers One love, sir?" Are you a sub to the channel, Brian Will? Did you pay for the movie ticket for me to go watch Transformers 1? I don't think so. My subs do. My Patreon supporters do. I don't recognize your name as being either of the two. So my love is for what I choose to review. You have a channel, I'm sure, since you're here. Where's your love? Did you make a review for Transformers 1? What's good, beastly nerd? You know, went and saw the Joker, came home, head full of cool ideas, and I got dumbass neighbors parking in my parking spot, and some old no teeth having ass folks want to have a couple they don't want to get out of a motherfucker's face. Just move your car. Just move your fucking car. That's all you got to do for me. Just move your fucking car. You don't have to run over your dog. I don't have to cuss out two old people. Don't have to do any of that shit. Police don't got to get involved. None of that shit. All you got to do is move your car. Stupid shit. Anyway, on to the show. I'm trying to shake this shit off right now. Still got a little bit of residual adrenaline. So I'm going to try to shake it off during this show. So, since YouTube is doing its job and not sending the alerts, yeah, you know what it is. It's damn people in their bullshit. And it's kind of like this movie in a sense. And this is where I was really striking a line with this movie on what it was about, what the message in the movie was, aside from the singing. Aside from the singing. Singing is just another medium to tell a story. I was listening to a song today, and I'll get to this review when I get to the rest of the stuff. I was listening to a song today by Concrete Blonde called Tomorrow Windy, right? I don't know when the song came out. I just recently heard it while I was out playing League. And sure enough, I looked up the song, looked up the lyrics, and started reading the lyrics. And at the top of the lyrics, they talk about that the song is about an AIDS patient, a woman who thinks she has AIDS or some such, and the other people in the hospital that she's walking by is telling her that she's going to die one day. Now, the song sounds really good. It does. Vocals are good and all the rest of that. But if you're not a person who listens to the lyrics and understand what the story is being told from the lyrics, you just hear the music and you just hear the chorus, you miss the whole message of the fucking song. The whole message. I didn't, which is why I'm not using it tomorrow. Because my stream is not about that tomorrow. So a lot of times with music, like stories, like movies and television and poems and all the rest of these literary forms, art forms, tells a story. Even comic books tells a story. Even without the words, it tells a story. A lot of that can be missed if you're just looking for the bright colors. or the fights. On a movie screen, it can be missed if you're looking for the explosions, the big spectacle, the carnage. All of that can be missed. That at the end of the day, that story that's being told on film, in a song, in a comic, or whatever, should be about people or a person. Maybe a day in the life of that person. Now, I have not seen any reviews of the Joker yet. I haven't. They come up on my stream, and I look at the thumbnail and the title, and then I put it, like I've told you guys before, I put it into a separate playlist. I save it to watch later in a separate playlist. Why? So I don't have somebody else's views diluting what I'm going to say. So I make sure I'm not parroting or aping things that somebody else said. So my review coming from you is fresh. And after coming out of this movie, the first thing I thought of doing is if I sat down and did my review of it, it would be too long. What's up, Malika? Salutations to you too, brother. If I sat down to just to record a review for it, it would be too long. It'd be way too fucking long. It'd probably be an hour-long review. And like I was telling BGS and Dr. Tia-san, it would die in editing. I'd never have time to finish the edit on it. Never would. So I was thinking, what would be the best way to go ahead and get the review done, give you guys something fresh, and not have it die on the editing floor because I'm waiting for the perfect image and animate and all the rest of that goofy shit, right? Shout out to Aaron, was good with you. Shout out to Andre 420, was good with you. Now, so I figured the easiest way to do it, now sliding here right before AB goes live with the Coliseum, is I'll just do 2 hours, an hour or two, and knock this shit out. And 2 hours should be enough time. I just didn't plan on running to the assholes in the parking lot of my residence over parking spaces that I pay for. Stupid shit. So what's good, Rainfire? See the regulars coming through. Sup, Artisan in the chat. I have a 50 shot Joker and Monster Summer. This Monster Summer. Okay. I'm not going to get off stream, so I'm going to have to close that so I can stay focused when I start actually talking about the movie. So this is what I thought would be the best way to get my thoughts out on this without it having muddled, befuddled, and it would give an opportunity for, I don't know, you to know what was what at the time of recording, put it that way. So it stays like this. I really wish I had a bigger channel because I do have a lot to say about this, and I'm trying to get back to it since these fucking goofies kind of threw off my train of thought with anger and not insightful introspection and analysis. So let me just say this. I was not bored in this movie, and I guess I should say there may be spoilers. I don't know who has seen this. I don't know who hasn't, but it is what it is. It may be spoilers. I don't know. If you've seen it before or if you've seen it already, I don't know, throw your hand up or cover your ears. I don't know what to tell you, but I guess I should put a spoiler alert up here just so you guys know, because I didn't put it in the title. Spoiler alert's over. I will tell you, I will not talk about the ending, obviously, because I don't like spoiling it for people, but I'm talking about my impressions from what I've seen. All right. There's enough larger YouTubers than me that have already gone out there and did their reviews. So when I do my review, you can go back and look at them and line them up next to each other and see the different opinions on this movie. First thing I'll say out the gate is I did not think this was a bad movie. And I say that with little reservation, but I've been wondering for a while, is it really questioning on what I consider a good or a bad movie to me, and what seems to be the wave of understanding that happens throughout YouTube in the geek sphere, that this is the way you're supposed to go on talking about some of these movies, be it all for it or all against it. This is just the way you're supposed to go. And this is one of the things I parse with in doing reviews on YouTube and whatnot. It is the tide. Which way is the tide blowing you? Because as I understand it, a review, especially if you're not a, professionally, I don't know, for a company paid reviewer, you didn't mess around and go to film school your whole life, none of that shit. You just an avid moviegoer who ends up delving into this stuff really deeply and reading all this information and stuff like that. And you had a venue, an avenue to come online and tell people what you thought of something. I don't usually think those views are always aligned. It probably shouldn't be, because you're an individual. Now, the collective opinion around some things can be monumental, as we've seen with the Acolyte. But I'm the one that can tell you, I draw even the 0.7 lead silver lining around pieces of shit like that. And it was hard to, like ridiculously hard to. So I usually think reviewers' opinion should be their own, and I shouldn't hear the same thing echo back and forth from each one to each one. The same bit, the same bite. Not saying they can't all agree that they liked it or they disliked it. I just don't think the same words would be used. I just don't. Seems weird to me. But when you play the YouTube game, that's how the algorithm works. And if you want to be successful, you play that game. I do and I don't. So I will say for me that I enjoyed the movie, because what I got out of the movie was a lot of psychological nods and aha moments that really pointed the finger at what people walked into that movie expecting they were going to see. And in some ways, I thought that was brilliant, especially the ending. When that movie was over, I wrote one line in my notes. And as you can see, it's probably too bright. You can't see because it's too fucking bright. Lights. Fucking hate lights. Like, at me. No, you can't see it. Yep, still can't see it because of the computer. Anyway, I made a lot of notes on this thing. And they're just quick, little hits about what I'm seeing, what I'm getting from the movie. And when I got to the end of the movie, there was one line that I wrote that I thought was, gold. I did. And I understood what I saw at the end as being a finger pointed to a certain group of people. And I rarely sat there in the theater listening to the music and watching the credits and thinking that I could see why critics in Hollywood would have a hard time with this. I can really see that. I can really see why some quote unquote fanboys would have a hard time with it. I could. Now, for the most part, I will tell you what you already know. Right? What's good, AB? I'm not going to be long, AB. I'm not, I ain't going to mess up the Coliseum. I'm just going to beam in and beam out, and the paths are yours. What you already know is that this movie follows the repercussions of Joker #1. Okay. It picks up with Arthur Fleck in Arkham Asylum. And you get to see how he is now. Now, I will say, for the most part, when I first decided to watch the original Joker movie, because if you remember, it's all recorded, I was not really on board with it. I was like, I don't really want to see that shit. I didn't want to see it. The Hangover director, what is this shit? Batfleck? Glitter Bat? oh my God, dude, I don't know if I want to watch this shit. But I'm a geek. I'm gonna watch it regardless. I've seen a lot of shitty movies, especially a lot of geek related movies. I mean, trust me, them that Superman 3 and 4, Quest for Peace, I think that should be an endurance test to test your geekdom. To watch that whole thing. Even worse if you remember it. So I was not necessarily on board with Joker #1. What's good, Hitflix? No, I'm not giving huge spoilers. I don't do that. I don't really do spoilers at all. I'm just gonna give you my impressions. I'm not gonna spoil the movie for you because I know some people want to see it. And for me, I always want to preserve you having your own original reaction, not knowing what was coming up. Not letting you know this is gonna happen here and here. Like, well, why did I sit down to the fucking movie? You just ruined it. I don't do that. No. I will hit on some stuff that I saw that is minute. It's not a spoiler, but I won't give you any spoilers for the movie. I won't do that, Netflix. I didn't put that on the thumbnail, but I was rushed and then I was into some other shit. So initially, for the first Joker, I wasn't really down, but I was willing to give Robert Pattinson a chance to play Batman. You know, I'll go watch the shit. Right? Or excuse me. I'm mixing up my movies now because I'm fucking irritated halfway. Apologies. Robert Pattinson wasn't in that one. First Joker movie, I went to see it regardless because the through line for me is that I wanted to see from the trailers that I saw of Joker, I wanted to see what really made a man break. What really got a man to that point where he could become a person like the Joker. Now, the first thing to remember with this movie, with this Todd Phillips movie, the Joker, not Glitterbat, excuse me. I'm bad. I can't believe I just did that shit. That's going to live forever. The thing that I looked at with this Joker movie, the first Joker movie, was that Todd Phillips was going to go in and give you that of the Joker. But what was already known about this movie from jump is this was not the regular Joker. DC has said it. Warner has said it. This is a whole different timeline in this movie. All right? So because it's a different timeline, this is a different universe with names and faces, or at least names you might remember or recall or seem similar to what you're familiar with, which is main continuity. This is not them. This is not the same story. Now, when I sat down to watch Joker #1 and watch that movie, I was blown away. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was an awesome movie. Because the ideas that played in the movie of this person being abused and kicked down and pushed down by society and the culture around him, not giving a damn about him, his voice, what he was going through, none of that shit. And then to see the stuff that was happening in his family life, you would understand why this dude was having delusions. Why he had problems adjusting or living in reality. Or seeing it for what it was. And what you saw in that movie is that it wasn't one precipitating incident that got him to the point of becoming Joker. It was just the last straw in a continual breaking that was happening to him his whole fucking life. That's all it was. Now, this movie makes the question that I thought was a good one to make from a psychological point of view is that, was he really broken? Or is that who he always was? Now, in Joker 2, since you already know the fallout of Joker #1, Joker 2 gets into this person, Arthur Fleck, being on trial for what he has done as the Joker. That he's going to trial for what he's done as the Joker. And you see his life living in Arkham and how it is going to that point. Now, I will say that Todd Phillips did something in this movie that I thought it just harkened back for some things for me. The first one is most of this stuff that happens in Arkham, you will not be remiss in looking at it and thinking about Shawshank Redemption. You won't be surprised at seeing that it has a very Shawshank Redemption vibe in that beginning part of it when they're in Arkham. And understanding what goes on with Arthur, how he is a person, how he exists in Arkham, and how everybody interacts with him in there. The guards, the other inmates or patients, as they would say, how that interaction plays out with them. What you also find out is how, in a very modern world sense, how somebody representing this person tries to get them ready to go on trial. Now, the other thing that happens in this gave me a very much Natural Born Killers, Mickey and Mallory vibe to this. And I think that was intentional. I think it was very intentional. Because if you remember Natural Born Killers from, I think it was the 90s, starring Woody Harrelson and what's her name? Juliette Lewis, I think it was. There was a reason that movie was made and the point that it was trying to make with the fan base, that the director of the movie was trying to make with the audience to get them to understand. And it was to investigate and have a discussion about how we as the culture, the media, the people on the outside relate to these serial killer type people. What kind of reverence and love and fandom we have built around these people. Now, that movie, Natural Born Killers, did exactly what it was proposing it did. That it was proposing to you. That a lot of times, us as the audience or the common folk that's watching this stuff on the television end up idolizing these people. We do. We romanticize them. But they're not good people. They're really not good people. It's kind of the vibe I got in this. What's good, too, Triv? That's kind of the vibe I saw playing out in this Joker, too. With Arthur Fleck and Harley Quinn. Well, Harley Quinn, too. I thought that was an interesting way to go. I did. I thought that was a very interesting way to go to tell this story where you have those things going on. You have the insane asylum piece that looks like a prison, and then you have the law and the outside piece that goes into this bigger idea of who people believe Arthur Fleck is and what they want to see of Arthur Fleck. It's kind of like, I don't know, the audience sitting in a theater and what they want to see from the fucking Joker. Now, the introduction of Lady Gaga in this movie, I was questionable about from the beginning. And I've told you guys before, Lady Gaga has grown on me for some reason when she started doing movies and acting and shit like that. Because I love A Star Is Born. I thought she looked beautiful, and I love the songs in that shit. I wrote poems listening to the songs in that shit. So apparently I never listened to enough Lady Gaga music or something. I don't know why. I don't like Pretenders and Madonna. I already lived through Madonna. But she's a decent enough actress. She is a very decent actress. There were a lot of moments in this where I'm sitting here watching her eyes and I see the sparkle go off or I see the shit shut off. And I'm like, this motherfucker is putting it in. Same thing with Joaquin Phoenix. That was already a known quantity. I already have liked Joaquin Phoenix, okay? I even liked him in Signs by M. Night Shyamalan, okay? I'm already in the bag for seeing what Joaquin Phoenix is going to do, okay? I watched her and was entertained, All right. So he could act by himself on a screen and I would buy it. Okay. Because there's enough nuance happening inside of him that you can resonate from if you're paying attention to him and see certain things switching inside him. Like the gears in his head just switched on to a different spinning cycle. And that's what I was watching on screen. Because at different moments, you would see what I think was intentional. The difference between Arthur Fleck and the Joker. You saw the difference. Now, to point out that difference, this is something I saw as a student of psychology. Okay. I'm just putting it that way. A lot of scenes in this movie are very visually interesting to me, even though it's only one thing on the screen at the time. But it's a lot of cues to get you into the mind space of thinking about what it is you're fucking seeing the whole time. Now, if you look at the thumbnail, that thumbnail is from the movie. That's a scene directly from the fucking movie. Why? Because it was fucking powerful the moment that happened. And I'm mad I didn't get the actual perfect shot of it. Because I don't usually take pictures of the screen while I'm in the theater. But I was like, holy shit, I need this. I need this. So what you see in that picture is Arthur in Joker makeup. But the scene before that, a couple scenes before that, oh, that was the Joker in an Arthur body. Now, the visual cues in this are very subtle, and I like the way they did the music, right? If you're not really old, and I'm not saying old because, you know, I was at the doctor last night and the doctor told me I wasn't old because she was 58 and I was 50. It's a black woman, so we just bullshitting about it, right? But she told me I wasn't old. Okay, I'm not old, according to the doctor. I'm still young. Well, in my young age, being a child of the 70s and 80s, I've watched a lot of, call it my Catholic school upbringing or what have you. I've seen a lot of musicals. I had to perform The Sound of Music. I had to read that book and watch the movie, and we did a stage play of that shit. One of my favorite movies is The Music Man. Love that shit, because if you want to watch it, it's like rapping before rapping was rapping. That's what they were doing, right? So I don't have a problem because I've seen and grown up on older movies, black and white movies or whatever, watching movies that have singing in it. But in the 80s sense, I understand that the only thing that was happening in this movie with the music in it is that instead of like in the 80s, you would get a musical transition or montage where the character might have just been moving through the scene, like walking down a damn street or something. And a perfect example of this is if you watch Night Shift with Henry Winkler and Michael Keaton, right? That's what I'm thinking of, just so you guys get on the same page with me. The character is walking down the street. It's not really a lot happening with the character necessarily, but the music that's playing while that character is walking down the street for this little montage type of scene, the words are endemic of what's happening with the character. The words in the song fit what's happening with the character at that moment. Now, the only difference is in a musical production or a production where they sing a lot and shit like that, they may sing that out, but it's always seeming like a break in the action. And then they get back to it, but nobody actually really knows what the fuck is going on the whole time, right? In this movie, when the music kicks in, the main character that you're following is the one singing it. And now you're questioning yourself, is what I'm seeing their reality or the real world? And at different times in it, you get the understanding that you're in their mind, how they see the situation playing out. And when they stop singing, it gets right back to where it was. Everything is reset and everybody else is just acting normally. But this is what was going on in that character's mind. That to me is fascinating because you always want to know from any movie you watch what's going on inside the hero's mind, what's going on inside the villain's mind. You don't usually get to see it. You infer it, but you don't see it. This movie, you actually fucking see it. Now, the way it gets mixed up and confusing for people is that at certain scenes, Arthur is just singing. And people are looking at him like, the fuck is wrong with this dude? And that's the point. And it crystallized for me sitting in the theater watching this movie. When I went back in my mind and was thinking about seeing the first Joker movie after he made his first 3 killings of killing them people that was beating him up on the subway train. You know, and he forcibly deleted them and then went in the bathroom. And once he stood in the bathroom and looking at himself in the mirror, he started dancing around and stuff. And the music wasn't to what he was dancing to. It wasn't. That was the break. That was when that personality of the Joker came to the forefront. And the music he was hearing was what the Joker hears. That's why he's always so whimsical. Always feel like he got a spring in his step. And that comes from the actor finding that character. Because it can't necessarily just be written on the script. The actor has to find it. So in this second movie, when you see him singing out loud, in a psychological sense, I would say, and I'm not a doctor, so y'all can take this for what you want to. There's doctors out here on this shit nowadays. So take it for what you will. This is that part of himself, that shadow part of himself that is emerging to the surface again. That's what those singing numbers are about. They did something interesting in the beginning of this movie, and I keep thinking about hit flicks now, so I'm mincing my words a lot more. He came in there and said that shit, and it like threw a stumbling block down. I'm like Carl Lewis with short legs, man. I want to hit these hurdles, but I'm about to get tripped up. There's part of the movie in the beginning that pretty much sets up the whole movie for you for what is happening. If you're paying attention to it. If you're looking at it as this is just some goofy shit at the front of this movie, you may not get it. But once you're into the movie and you keep seeing how Todd Phillips shoots the scenes where you see the Joker, it keeps playing on that. It always starts in shadow, which means what? Psychologically, it means that's his dark side. That is that shadow side of himself that he keeps repressed. Through all the shit that you saw him dealing with in the first Joker movie, that finally came out, what he had to say about why it came out. This movie shows you that duality between the two of them. And yeah, it happens through song. A lot of it happens through song. But I have to think of it this way. Like I said, I was not really sure about them casting Lady Gaga in the beginning in this shit as Harley Quinn. Forgive me, but I like my women a little bit more rounded out. I just do. I like them a little bit more shapely. And don't blame me. That's the way Bruce Timms and them made Harley Quinn when they put her in Batman the animated series. So don't be mad at me about that shit. But if you have a woman acting in this movie of Lady Gaga acting as Harley Quinn in this movie, and she is a world-renowned singer, it would absolutely be pointless to waste that with not having this motherfucker sing. It'd be like Wesley Snipes showing up into the movie and not having a fight scene. What the fuck did you get Wesley for then? You could have got sticky fingers. So the fact that there was a lot of music in this and a lot that she was responsible for is not surprising. But the music, I think, was very well picked because the lyrics of the song always spoke to what was going on with the character. Always. Some deep psychological pain, some emotional turmoil. It was always there on point. There was only one part in this shit I thought, okay, that's a little bit too much, because they went from a singing scene right to the next singing scene, and I thought it was rushed. Give me like 2 more beats at this point in the movie to just have him taking that in before you get to a song. You could have cut the song out of that part and it'd have been fine. It'd have been fine. But because music in this sense, in this movie, is the anchor or the trigger to show when different sides of his personality is coming out and what is keying on in this personality, to me, that makes it valuable, because now every time the music hits, you understand what you're getting. You understand where it is, the story is now going and what's happening with the character. Like, not a spoiler in this. Yeah, Harley is a gymnast, but she did have hips. Rainfire. I'm just saying. You watched the cartoon, right? Okay, so did I. Yeah, she could have that, wasn't it, Caitlin Ohashi frame. I don't care, but you need to be hippie. Do what you will. All right. Now, there's a part in this, and it's not really a spoiler, okay? But Arthur Fleck is standing in like the day room at Arkham, and he's watching the television in front of the other patients that have told him, hey, he's on the screen, they're talking about you and what they want to do. And he's standing there looking at the television, and he breaks out singing. Now, how it starts is very interesting. He just starts reciting words and singing. And slowly the music comes up, it builds, and you see him dancing around and all the rest of the stuff in amongst all the other patients. Now, it is no mistake at that moment that this is the Joker, asserting himself. He's feeling some kind of way. He's happy. He's engaged again. He hasn't been taking his pills, so he's not muted in his mind anymore. He's given into that. But once he comes back and finishes his song and stops, you get one of the patients asking him again, what does he think about it? And you see, all that was a fucking delusion. All of it. All of it was a delusion. From the moment he started singing, it was a delusion. It means it's the response of his shadow self and not his real life response that he's having. And that's what made it more fascinating to me to understand those shifts in his personality like that. And they did it really well in a way of showing it that every time you saw that Joker in scenes like that, it was always coming out of darkness. It was always lighted up. And then you could see him fully, because now you're getting his thought process. And that's what I was wondering about watching this trailer for this movie. Are we going to see what's going on in his head the whole time? Because we're constantly seeing these shifts in color palette from what seems to be in the real world and what seems to be him having a fucking delusion. That's exactly what it was. Now, I enjoyed that. I really did. It made the movie really fascinating. I wasn't falling asleep and I wasn't bored. I was really sitting there studying and making notes like, what the hell? And I really thought about why this fucking dude over here brought his like 10-year-old son in here to watch this. Like, what are you doing? Ain't a bunch of people getting killed in here, but bruh, you picked the wrong movie. I think the wild robot is next door. You should be getting the fuck out of here. Eventually they did leave after the sex scene. Like, why you gonna leave now? Let the kid know how he got here. Fucking idiots. Anyway, the second part of this movie is the lead character, Harley, but as she calls herself in this show, Lee, played by Lady Gaga. I thought Lady Gaga's performance was good. I really did. And I thought it actually, to say what I can say not to spoil things. It's definitely not the Harley Quinn that you know from regular continuity. And I told you guys before, this is how I rationalize a lot of this shit. This is a movie, and this is not happening in regular continuity. So you can be pissed off all you want to that it's not following a comic. It's not regular continuity any fucking way. So it doesn't matter. Do whatever the fuck they want over here. Long as it doesn't affect regular continuity, have your fun. But just know that shit is over there. And with James Gunn in the building now, yeah, I'm sure that shit is way the fuck over there. That's not the plan. It ain't on the roadmap. Now, the character of Harley and her portrayal of Harley is someone that resonates with the Joker. And I was really interested to see how this was going to play out with having knowledge of the original origins of Harley Quinn, being that she's a, psychiatrist, psychotherapist in Arkham, working with the Joker that gets corrupted, to this movie where she's in Arkham with his ass and she a patient too. I really want to know how that was going to turn out. It's a funnier way to get them both in Arkham. It's a different way to get them both in Arkham, but it lends itself to more. She's not breaking any doctor-patient privilege stuff. No Hippocratic oath. None of that stuff. Right? She's automatically already known to must be a bit fucking crazy because she's here. She's done something. She got to be kind of nuts. If she's staying in Arkham too, she didn't just get a job there. She's actually there. That made it a little bit interesting, a little bit more interesting, because I want to see how that played out and what was the reasoning behind why she was in there. And what I got was, okay. Now, what I got from it, I made the parallel between two things that have happened in comic books, and you've seen it animated before. And it is the relationship between Talia al Ghul and Batman. Now, for those of us who read comics, we understand that Talia al Ghul is the daughter of Ra's al Ghul. And she has a son by some unconventional means with Bruce Wayne, the Batman. Now, the reason she had this child is because she, slipped Batman a Mickey. But the interesting part to think about this is not so much the child and shit. It is who she slept with. She didn't sleep with Bruce Wayne to her. She didn't sleep with Bruce Wayne. She doesn't really care about Bruce Wayne. Who she slept with was the Batman. Yeah, he had to have a cowl on. She's not interested in Bruce Wayne. And the reason being is that she understands Bruce Wayne is the mask. Batman is who that person really is now. She doesn't care shit about Bruce Wayne. She doesn't even like Bruce Wayne. But Batman, yes. Yes, he is a suitable suitor. Her father approves. Why the hell not? Law of the Jungle, the strongest lion. Okay, give me that Batman and hold the side of Bruce Wayne. I don't need that shit. It's the same thing, or it at least echoed that in this movie. That Lee Quinzel is not in there for Arthur Fleck. She knows who Arthur is. She has sympathy for Arthur. She wants the Joker. She sees the Joker as Arthur's real face. And like, I don't know, Inception, where you needed a kick to come back to the surface of the real world. In this movie, singing and song is what she used to bring the Joker back to the surface in Arthur. to incept him, give him his kick to come back to the surface. Because that is who she wants. That is what she's interested in. That's what she understands. And she tells him about being a fan, watching him on TV, being really understanding who he was or whatnot. Yeah, she did. And that's who she wanted to see. That's what she was in love with. Not in love with Arthur. She had sympathy for Arthur because she understands that they are the same people in a sense. And from the minute Arthur meets her and he realizes that attraction in himself for her, every time you have singing numbers, they do the same visual cue. It's always dark and it lights up. He's in his makeup as Joker. She's there being Harley Quinn. Their shadows, the shadow sides of themselves, are now dancing together in his mind. And Arthur realizes he is not alone anymore, which more so makes Joker come to the surface. He's not alone. He understands that. He thinks he's found, like Malika is saying in the chat, his muse, or more likely, Malika, kindred spirit. Now, I say kindred spirit just to give the understanding that most people that read comics know about the Bat family, and all of us love the Bat family, even Jason, okay? Even fucking Johnny Valley, Azrael, his crazy ass. We love the Bat family. Why? Because they all capable. Even Damien's little killer ass. All capable. Found Batman, he found them, whatever. Went through a process. He decided to take them on and train them and give them some abilities. They follow his code. They out there on patrol with him. Batarangs, bat ropes, expensive cars, all that shit. They awesome, right? What you would understand of that is that Batman found kindred spirits for justice. Is it out of the ordinary to even assume that maybe villains can have kindred spirits too? What, they just supposed to be alone? No. And that's the part that gets into the whole Mickey and Mallory natural born killers of the situation. They're both crazy. They are. They're both in an asylum. And they fall in love with each other because they recognize the crazy in them. Now, all these scenes that I was watching of Joker and Harley Quinn dancing and singing together and understanding that this is in Arthur's mind, because it will stop and you'll see he's just sitting there having a fucking delusion, and you got to see it. You got to see what was going on in his head. He sees them skipping through life and having a good time and stuff like that together. They can sing in the same key. They are of the same mind, of the same heart, right? Twin flame shit. What I saw at different parts was my crazy ex. I had to text her. Like, you know what? You should watch The Joker too. Because I've made no secret about it. That motherfucker touched my dark side a little bit too much. Which is why I had to go away from it. I don't need to be playing in the dark like that. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Some things will be slipping their leash, never to be found again. No. But that's what made it a little bit more fascinating to me. Because I get that. I get the people that I was in my psychological classes with and how we explored and understood each other's dark sides, how that came out, what brought us to these realms to study these things to begin with. It always starts from a place of some damage. some powerlessness, in a sense, to wrest some control over that. That's what I was seeing in this scene. I saw their dark sides dancing with each other. He understood it. She understood it. And that's why she would always start singing to him to get him into that headspace. I want to talk to the Joker. I want to talk to Arthur. She never said that, but that's pretty much what it was. She didn't want the whiny dude. She didn't want that dude. She wanted the Joker to come forward because that's who she was attracted to. Yeah, like a kindred spirits and a psychological delusion. Yes. Now, because of that role that Lady Gaga was playing, I'm going to wrap this up pretty quick. It made her performances more interesting because there's a lot going on. Not just in the speaking of lines, not just in the singing and dance. We already know she can fucking sing and dance. Who gives a shit about that? But listen to the songs. Listen to the words of the song and the song choices, because the characters themselves in the movie start singing specific songs to the other person. And it's saying words that they can't say themselves, which also was fascinating to me, because I can tell you, this is probably what made me think of my crazy ex. Personal note, it was hard to have a conversation with her about something because she'd always send me fucking TikToks. And the TikToks were supposed to convey the words that she couldn't say herself. I understood what it was. I found that kind of fucking nuts. I should say maddening. It just made me mad because I understood what it was. And the hardest time was having this person just say it's on your fucking mind. So I don't have to try to piece through it from some simp ass dude's TikTok about what he thinks guys should be with women. Man, shut the fuck up talking to me. No. He's wrong and not masculine. So I really can't listen to that shit. So that is what I saw in this movie. And maybe that's because I have some personal experience with it, that I saw that in this movie. Regardless of that, I did. It resonated. Now, the other part of this movie is about Arthur. I keep saying that fucked up for some reason. Arthur admitting certain things to himself. And the real question is the struggle between who you actually are. Which is your real identity? Now, I would think it would be a little bit interesting to pose this in a YouTube situation, because you always have to ask yourself when you're looking at somebody on camera, is it really themselves? Or is that just what they put on for everybody else? You know, the whole idea of the ego and the superego in your shadow. Because it could be said that Arthur is the ego. Could be said that that's the face everybody is comfortable with. And that the Joker is his shadow. Oh, that's him. That is also him. But that is all that abuse and trauma and whatnot that he pushes down, that finally decided to, come out the darkness and dance in the spotlight. And when he did, people were horrified. That's a psychological play. And Arthur deals with that throughout the whole fucking movie. Now, to me, because I will watch a lot of dramas and psychological thrillers and thrillers in general, I'm always interested in what's going on behind somebody's eyes, what's going on inside their heads. Always. People in real life, people on the screen. It doesn't matter. I'm always interested in what's going on beside people's heads and what their real self looks like. There's a line from one of my favorite TV shows, Firefly. And Malcolm Reynolds, played by Nathan Fillion, in one episode, he deals with this guy who likes torturing people. And the guy who's torturing them has a reason he's torturing them. The torture is so he can get to seeing who the real person is. That under torture, strong people tend to be fucking weak. You know, all that bluster and loud talk, they tend to be very weak. Or the weakest person under some torture, you light that spark in him, you find they're the strongest person you've ever dealt with. That guy, Vecna, wants to see Malcolm Reynolds' real face, and he tortures him for a while. And he kind of laughs it off. He's going bad through it, but he's trying to get his homeboy, his crewmate, through it, who's breaking. He's trying to keep him from breaking. Once it gets resolved and Malcolm is free, and now Vecna is down there at his mercy, he tells him, oh, you want to see the real me? You want to see my real face? And he gives him that business. He sees his real face, and his real face is vengeance. Angry vengeance. Didn't matter the whole fucking 2 or 3 hours he was sitting there torturing him. All he got was jokes from his ass. But as soon as he got free, then he got that work. And he was terrified of what he saw. It's the same thing in this movie. Harley messes with Arthur because she wants to see his real face. Arthur's lawyer wants him to be Arthur to understand that the Joker is not his real face. That it's a split personality, a DEI situation. Not DEI. It might as well be the same thing. DID situation. Arthur is sitting there trying to figure out for himself which is his real face. What does he really show? So I thought it was very fascinating in that sense that you would get that kind of psychological inspection or analysis of a character and have it played to the backdrop of music. Because make no mistake about it, before I walked into this movie, and maybe this makes me fucking crazy too, but I had breakfast, I left breakfast, and I had a song in my head. And I was hearing See the Fine Again in my head as I was walking to the car with my glasses on. I was feeling it. So sitting down into this movie and seeing this, I really had to ask myself, how different am I than this character on the screen? Am I just remembering a song to myself? Or is it an actual psychological issue that you're having a fucking delusion about what the world is that you're walking around in? I know exactly why I was singing the damn song. There's no trauma related to it, so to speak. But I knew why I was singing it. So it begs a question. When I'm watching this character on screen doing the same fucking thing, and he just singing it out loud. It'd be no different if one of you walked outside your house today and it was sunshine and the people was out there and the thugs in the neighborhood just start walking away from you and you just start singing, man, I told these motherfuckers I'm the man in these streets. You just start singing to yourself. It's something we all do. But here it is on the screen and this character is doing it and they're saying this character is crazy as shit. Is he? Might do the same thing. Good question. I'll come back to it. Now, the other part to this, and it's 6 something, so I'm going to try to wrap this up quick. The other part to this is investigating the outside of what's happening outside of all of this stuff with the Joker. and how what the Joker did resonates with other people, the people around him who saw what happened, who witnessed what happened, who heard the words that he spoke, and how it resonated with them and how he had a cultural impact on that world, that society inside of that world. But also, it kind of asked the question about how the Joker had a cultural impact on the world outside of this movie, in the meta sense, how it affected us. This is where I think people got disappointed with this movie. And I don't know if they're truly disappointed. Mind you, I said I did not watch anybody's interviews. I'm just reading their thumbnails. And everybody, oh, it's flopping at the box office. Of course it was going to flop at the box office. Thought it was going to make another $1 billion? Really? No. Not in this culture, not in this day and age. Not when they were trying to write the Joker 1 off as bullshit, and then it smacked all the critics in the face with making $1 billion. And, oh, how dare you? This motherfucker was going down like Black Adam. Same studio. So I wasn't looking for it to make $1 billion because I'm always more interested in the fucking story than the receipts, because they ain't paying me for that shit. I don't own any stock in Warner Brothers. Now, the question it asks of the audience, the statements it makes about the culture inside of that world, how they react to Arthur, is understanding that certain people see him as being free. And free in the metaphorical sense is that he is now unbound from dealing with the shit that they're all dealing with. And that's why people in this world get behind him so much and just love the Joker. Show up to court and face paint and everything of really supporting the Joker. A person who killed 6 people. They're really supporting him. Why? Is it because he's making everybody crazy? He's making the world chaotic because he exists? He is now responsible for all these acts of violence and stuff like that go on. You know, that real world shit that they blame on YouTubers and stuff. The hate campaigns against such and such is because of these YouTubers. Oh, but these YouTubers getting death threats and shit like that ain't because of folks like you. Interesting. You ain't responsible for them, though. Gotcha. No. It points out an interesting fact that this is what resonates with people on a deeper level is truth. And people being free of the shackles that polite society, politically correct society, does put on you. And some people, though they never deleted anybody, are reprehensible. Somebody taking care of some of that shit might beg the question, was right or wrong? I mean, I figured there's some anime geeks in here. What was the point of the Death Note show? What was the point of it? I have a black book right here, too. Black for a reason. It ain't the Death Note, though. And that's the book I write my notes for the showdown on. What was the point of that show? It begs the moral question on what's right and what's wrong based on, well, you did some evil things. Yeah. It's primarily to people who are already doing evil things and you weren't doing shit about it. To me, that's an interesting point to start a conversation and an inspection of character and society all at the same time. You could say this one individual was crazy, but what's crazier? The one individual saying all this is nuts and the larger population saying all this is not nuts. You're crazy because you don't agree like us. I thought that was interesting. And the way Todd Phillips handled it in this movie was a bit interesting. And I say interesting because if something gets me to think and ask questions, that is good. That is good to me. I don't need people spoon feeding me shit. AM just did a fire stream a couple days ago about how Gen X was lied to, just like you millennials was lied to, just like you Zs are being lied to. But he also pointed out the difference between an X and a Z and an M, being that shit didn't take all the way with us. We question everything. We're skeptical. We're cynical. I've told it to you on my streams. Look, we had to grow up early. There was a short childhood for a Gen Xer. Adulthood was what you got into early, and understanding the world around you was how you survived it. And it wasn't all pretty. So that's why we have a harder time swallowing some of this shit, and we ask more questions and have more unique analysis on it, because we are looking at it not for what they want to tell us it is, but from what we see it is. It's no different than this Arthur Fleck in this show. In the first Joker movie, when he went on the Maury show and gave him his manifesto speech and deleted him, that's what he was doing. He was pointing out the ills of that society, of that city, of that world, telling you the amount of shit he had to eat and how much he didn't like it and how it could have been changed and why does nobody do anything about it, and how much the society didn't give a shit about him until he deleted 3 douchebags and the damn host. That's a strong statement to make in a time like this, especially coming out around political season, where both sides take delight in demonizing the other one. And anybody that don't agree with them has lost their damn mind and needs to be silenced. So that was fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I never put the banner up. I hear my phone keep going off. And I never put the banner up. So it's obviously not cash apps for this stream. Stupid. And I just turned it off. So I'm not going to spoil the end of this movie, but I can see, I can't see, I suspect what critics and geek reviewers, where they fanboys would have a problem with this. I can sense that, where they would have a problem with this. And like I said, not that I've seen any of their reviews. I'll go back and watch them now because I just did my review. But I could see where they could have a problem with this. But my question is, why? We knew what this was from Joker number 1. right? So what are we crying about? One of the first notes I made on this movie when I sat down to the theater and it broke into the song and I was feeling myself being cynical about it was I thought about it this way is how uncomfortable this will make people watching a movie design like this and how uncomfortable I was initially with it. And the quote was, "This is what happens when you force sequels on folks." And I thought about it in the sense of the reason you're going to get so much singing in this shit is because you had Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix do something they said that they were against doing, which was making sequels. I don't see Joaquin Phoenix coming back to being Gladiator 2, right? No. Is he going to have a cameo in it as a ghost or a memory? I don't know. But I don't see him coming back for that. I also remember Todd Phillips saying he didn't want to do a second movie. He didn't. But yet and still, I just sat down in the second movie of this shit. Why? Is it because Warner Brothers did the Disney job and pulled up a dump truck in front of his house and kept dumping money until he said yes? Maybe. Maybe they just pressured him because they needed it. Warner Brothers needed that shit. Because the rest of that crap was not working. Look at their ledger. After the Flash movie, Aquaman didn't do so hot. Yeah, they needed it. They probably wasn't even asking. They was telling him, we're going to make this movie with or without you. They probably gave his ass the same speech they gave Lana Wachowski to come back and do that piece of shit ass Matrix 4. Probably the same speech. And what did you get in Matrix 4? A bunch of shit regurgitated from other people's movies and a commentary against Warner Brothers in the fucking movie about why she didn't want to do that shit. Stop forcing sequels on folks. You might not, especially artsy people. I'm not saying Lana Wachowski is overly artsy. I don't know for sure, but just saying, artsy people, stop forcing sequels on them if they don't want to do it. I know it's hard, you as the studio, to let shit lie and not make all this potential money you could make off of it, but you have ruined more series doing this shit. So Lana Wachowski gave you a meta commentary on people that like the Matrix and the studio and everything else but the goddamn Matrix. And I saw recently the news article I got saved to read about the Matrix 5. Resurgence? I don't want to watch that shit. Fuck, stop. But they forcing it. But when it comes out and bomb, we'll be back here having this conversation again about why studios sometimes should just understand when to cut bait. Or cut it the fuck off and walk away. Do another one. If you don't like the singing in this movie, understand the reason you got singing all through this movie, that still told you a story. The reason you got singing all in this movie is because Warner Brothers forced them to make this shit that he didn't want to make. So he did whatever the fuck he wanted to. Because best believe, if you made $1 billion on a movie that didn't cost $1 billion to fucking make, you made them a hell of a lot of money. They want to cash in again. They want to go back to the piggy bank and take the screwdriver to the slot. No, they want all that shit. And if you force them to do it, okay, well, I get a little bit more free reign then to do what I want to. Well, what do you want to do, Todd? A musical. Some absolutely ridiculous shit that they normally would not even agree to. But they did it. Why? Because he made him $1 billion. So that stops a lot of buts. Okay, Todd, whatever you want. Can you get Joaquin back? Yeah, AB. Don't ask why, man. Money is why. So, at least for the Joker 2, I enjoyed this movie. And while I was sitting there watching this movie and it was getting close to the end, I really asked myself, would I buy this? And could I see myself watching it again without being in the theater just on a Sunday? I'm binging movies on a Sunday. I want something to watch. Could I see myself watching? See myself watching this? Yes, I could. Why? Because I like that kind of psychological underpinning. This is why you go back and watch movies again to talk about what was going on in certain scenes with a person and how the people played these characters and what you saw in the performance and all this. This is the shit that you look at for that. It ain't the fucking Acolyte. It ain't Rings of Power. It ain't none of that shit. This is the type of movie you go back and dissect. This would have been considered a cult film if it had been made in the 90s or late 80s, early 90s. It would have been considered a cult film because it would not have had to make $1 billion in the box office for people to take it seriously. It'd be trumpeted in its failure. No. It would just have to find its audience, and its audience would have to love it. And they would keep watching that shit and singing its praises and shit like that. You know, like The Crow. So I didn't think it was a terrible movie. I didn't. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Is it as much fun as Deadpool and Wolverine was? No. But that's not a knock against it either because it's not that kind of fucking movie. Deadpool and Wolverine was a comic book version of a Kevin Smith movie with dick and fart jokes. Joker, what? I'm going to say it wrong as soon as I try to think about it. Folie is not that. It is a pretty serious psychological study of a character. What breaks a man? What a broken man does when he finds love or finds someone that accepts him. How does the world surrounding this person react to him when he may not want to be what they only want to accept him as being? They want to put a name tag on him and say he's a monster. He's looking back at him and saying, I'm not a monster. You're the monsters. Because you made me. That's what I think people are afraid of with this movie. Like, fucking hell. Totally off topic, right far. I knew this movie was going to get canned when all that shit came out about Joaquin Phoenix walking off that one movie. I knew it was going to get shit on. I knew it. But if you watch the movie, show me where technically it looks bad. Show me where the cuts look fucked up, where the sound design is shitty, where the set dressing looks cheap, where the costumes look garbage, where the performances are weak. Show me that. Because I didn't go to film school. I didn't. I'm not considered a professional reviewer. But I take my professionally made money and go watch these movies and sit there and think about it and let the movie tell me the story it's going to tell me. And then I sit back and think about what story they were trying to tell me and how it resonated with me based on the source material that it may have come from or may only use a character out of. This is not main continuity Joker. So whatever happened in this shit is what the hell happened in this shit. It was evident from the first movie. There cannot be any discussion or complaint about what it is in the second movie. That'd be like complaining about Fast X and how ridiculous and jumping the shark it is after you've got up 9 movies before the 10th one. You already in on this, man. Shut up. Shut up. Stop complaining. In for a penny, in for a pound. You along for the ride on the heist, you're going to jail too. It's just what the hell it is. Stop bitching. Is it the same movie as the first one? World-wise, yes. Tonally, a little different. Because basically this movie says the quiet parts in Joker number 1 out loud. Instead of seeing Joker just dancing around and delusional and shit like that, you actually hear it now. You hear the numbers. You see them. You see what he sees, which is cool to me. Especially when you can pop back out of that and understand you're in the real world. And this motherfucker is just dancing down the goddamn street and singing in front of strangers. And they paying him no mind. Who's really crazy? Who's really free? Good questions. So, what else do I got left in this? I didn't hit on everything, so I guess I have to do a shorter review on just some things with spoilers. Or maybe I'll just talk about it tomorrow on the hero's journey, because then I can possibly do spoilers without hitting any unless the other bigger reviewers already spoiled the shit and you watched that review and now you already know the whole movie. There's another beat in here that I liked, and it played on something that was in the first movie, right? The first movie had this beat in there, and most people really looked over it when they were idolizing the fact that the Joker and what he did, and you get what you deserve, and all the rest of that shit, and didn't really understand what all of that means, I think, right? Just my opinion, like the movie. And it was the part to find out that everything that Arthur was doing at a point, you saw where it came from. And it pointed the finger at his mother for making him the crazy case that he was. Now, ultimately, his actions determined that he went over the line and he was crazy. But before all of that, you see how this child was broken by a delusional woman. You saw that. The second movie touches on that again. And I'm not surprised that it'll probably go overlooked in this movie, just like it went overlooked in the first movie. Because people fell in love with the idea of the Joker, at least in this Todd Phillips movie, being this wild and, explosive character coming out of his shell. The movie takes notice of that phenomenon, and it speaks to it. But it also speaks to what made Arthur Fleck the Joker, what made the Joker in Arthur Fleck as well. And really looks at that question, well, who's the real monster? Who? It's easy to throw those terms around if you take no responsibility for anything that was done to make this person in this. And when you go into psychology, if you're going to sit down with patients, one of the things you always establish, I would think, is you understand their history, where they come from, how they grew up, who was instrumental in their raising. Now, you can see this played out in the world right now, in a hood near you. You can see it happening. It's probably people in your family, that's probably 20 years old right now, and you know how they were being raised from 5 on up. And you seeing how they turning out right now. This is an ongoing open experiment the whole time. All you got to do is open your eyes and pay attention. Stop looking at your fucking screen and ask some questions of the people standing next to you. You'll see this shit. So it's really interesting that in the first movie, nobody had any smoke for his mama. Except me. I had smoke for her. She did this shit. She did all this shit. That comes up again in the second movie. Because they do talk about his mama. And it is brought up. Let's see where it goes when I go back and watch these reviews and see who hit on that. I've said it before. Most of your well-known psychological theorists, early days of the field and stuff like that, all have this kind of trauma in their life. All of them. Some really off shit that happened to them at a young age that actually drove them to the field to figure out why the hell this was going on and how do you deal with it. And it didn't stop happening. It just happened to other people. So it was more people to actually bring in, talk to, and learn about. You can do it in your own life. Because I say this, I joked about it on Dr. Anwar today. We're talking about AI. And the idea was brought up of AI therapists. Yeah. Why? Because they're not making, we as a society are not making more stable people. So you're going to need some more therapists. Might be helpful if some of them was black. But that's just my personal note. Yeah, Malika. Look, we both Gen Xers, dude. We both Xers. Like I made the joke about it, I think last week. It's like, man, we are veterans of the same foreign war. Jesus, we have our stripes from the same war, sir. I know. I understand. We have talked. I understand it. And it hasn't been the case with most Gen Xers I know. Because we'll talk about it, but it ain't no fucking crying sense. We'll talk about it. You'll hear it come out. So that's it for me. That is my review of Joker Folie Dukes Party of Two. Thank you guys for listening to this for as long as you did. Thank you for you two for being a bitch and not sending out my alert and not giving me my membership so I can actually just do my members on my channel, even though I have the time and I have the videos. Guess I'm not bringing in enough advertising dollars. But that's the last shot I'm going to take about complaining about shit. Thank y'all for coming through. What am I like to say? 30 minutes before the Coliseum opens up. Arthur Fleck is one of the worst cases of a son husband in cinematic history. And if you remember, Malika, when the first Joker movie came out, what was the murmuring fear that they was throwing out there about the movie? That it was going to activate all them incels, right? Arthur Fleck is a fucking incel. He's an incel. He is. But why is he an incel? Oh, AB giving me the green light. He said, I got about an hour. Well, that's your time. My time, 7 o'clock, you all. 10:30 Eastern. Yeah. 7:30. Okay, 7:30. Okay, AB. Thank you, sir. Thought it was 7. Did you push the time back? You reprogramming the matrix? You reprogramming the matrix? But yes, Malika, he is an incel. But the real question is, why is he an incel? When you get into this movie, you're reminded of the fact that Arthur wasn't just abused by his mother and the boyfriends that she had. He's sexually abused. Why wouldn't he be an incel? Yep. And Eddie has it in it. Guilt tripped him into a son husband status real bad. Yes. That's why I didn't hate that remake of it. That's why I didn't hate it, because one of the characters that was played by John Ritter in the original It, they went more into to see what his relationship was with his mother, and it was fucked up. That is a modern interpretation. How do you think that even made it into the movie? That would be something that gets people to that point. Read some psychological papers, y'all. Everybody got a library, and it's mostly online. You went to university, you should have access to a library where you can pull up stuff like that. Shit, Dr. T has done a paper, done several papers. Dr. Tommy Curry has done several papers about this kind of shit. You can read this from all kinds of sources, males, females alike. What did Rainfire say? They are starting to show Rainfire more mama monsters nowadays. Look at Moon Knight. Yes, which is another reason why I like Moon Knight. Disney Plus show. I like the character of Moon Knight already. I like the show. I didn't like that Red Scorpion scarab bullshit that they threw in there and just started trying to hijack his show. I didn't like that. Made it very clear. Reviewing the shit. Made it very clear about that. I was not liking that. But understanding their version, MCU version of Mark Spector, how he is not the same one from the comic book. His split personalities, how those split personalities develop, is the psychological play that makes the story more interesting. I don't give a shit necessarily about the fights. Yeah, that's cool for action, for people with low attention spans who need the flashing lights and the explosions to make sure they're still watching it every 5 minutes. No, I enjoyed the rest of that part. That was the part that really stuck out to me, to get the gist of who this character is on the inside, because that's the part the actor has to play on the screen. The fight training is just extra. They still have to remember their lines and try to give this character life. And the life is not in the fight scenes, it's in the emotional underpinnings that make that character who the character is, and gives you an understanding of why they will react in a situation the way they react. I'm looking at it right now on my screen right now. What is this, a trailer? I hope it's not a fake trailer, but a trailer for Moon Knight Season 2. I'll be watching that. I like Oscar Isaac. You tell me Oscar Isaac is a shit actor? Yeah, he could pick some shit roles or be in some shit movies, but I've never heard anybody say he was a shit actor. So why did Moon Knight suck? Because it wasn't exactly the comic? No, it wasn't. In some ways it was better. In some ways it fell short. But on the whole, for getting a live action version of it, pretty good. Beasley said, that's my whole job in dealing with boys who are psychologically screwed in the head due to their more significant, specifically they mamas. Yes. It's always go that way. It's like Psychology usually comes back to that person. It's usually the person who has the most influence over the child. Predominantly, it's moms. Was fathers too in some earlier ages. But when it gets into the father shit, it always has a religious element tied into it. But nowadays, last 30 or so years, which is a big petri dish to study, psychologically it is. More single parent homes, unstable women that'll do shit like film themselves burning up their boyfriend's car because he broke up with him, running a man over, trying to run him down with a car. And all these people got kids. You think you're not watching Arthur Fleck being raised right now? You don't think you waiting to see a Joker? That's why the media and stuff like that gets so wound up about movies that, oh, you gonna wake these motherfuckers up. Yeah. They understand it. That's why they've been trying to medicate these little motherfuckers for so long. I had that argument with Ford. I said, the reason why you got opioids and Ritalin and shit like that is to keep you motherfuckers calm. They don't ever want you to wake up from this shit. Gen Xers talk too much. Can't get us to go backwards like that. But they're going to keep y'all motherfuckers medicated until you drop dead. So you don't grab your nuts and stop playing along with this. Because they don't want to have to deal with that shit. Thank God for the internet, because the light is being shown on these 6 females and how they create Frankenstein monsters that they don't want to be accountable for. The truth hurts. Well, it does hurt because the families make this shit. Like something Trust said last week that I thought about watching this movie. And we were talking about the Diddy thing, right? And she said, none of this sensationalized shit that they're accusing the Diddy with the baby oil and the dildos and all that shit could not have happened without women being involved in it. And I'm like, you're right. They ain't mentioning that shit, are they? How long did it take them to go after Epstein's girlfriend before they had her ass on trial? And believe me, I don't think she might have got a lot of time, but she doing some cush time. I bet she doing cush time. Because she probably know the people who was there too. She just made a deal. Because they'll still get off easy. Excuse me. There's the same thing in this movie that you see that women, in some senses, want that chaos. They want to be a part of it. They want to be close to it. They want to be near it. They want to feel the flame and have the attention and the adulation. They do. While it works for them. I know BGS told this story too about the dope man always having a girl. And the dope man go to jail. And the women then spent up all the money and ran off with another dude. Yeah. Yeah. Because the ride's over. And they know it. I got to get somebody to keep me in the same lifestyle I've become accustomed to. He'll be waiting on you forever. He can't do nothing. He got himself locked up. I can't remember who it was. Who was this guy that got popped? Was it Real Frank White, or was it the Real American Gangster, Frank Lucas? That the reason that the FBI had got onto who he was because his girl convinced him to wear this fucking white fur coat to this boxing match. He didn't want to wear that shit, but he wore it to pacify her ass. And they said that's how they found out who he was. Because they didn't know before then. Never knew. But he wore that flashy shit out there, appeasing the chick he messing with. Did something stupid, and that's what got his ass on the fucking radar to get caught. Because chicks want the notoriety. Don't matter if you're killing people. They want the notoriety. That's so-and-so girl. You can't mess with her. And when he get taken out, it's all over. Yeah, move on to the next sucker. And that happened in Power with Ghost and his wife. She didn't want to calm Mr. St. James. She wanted Ghost. Yeah, she wasn't there for that, going legit shit. She wasn't there for that. So much so, she turned his kid against him. Since he wasn't going to get back on code, she'll make another one. Like I said, the movie pointed out a lot of things. If you had the eyes to see it and were looking for it. If you were looking for an action feast, a bunch of people getting deleted and stuff like that, no, you're going to be disappointed as fuck. And you know what? In that sense, I don't fucking feel bad for you. I don't. You have become spoiled in your television and movie watching. Because the point of it is, if you eat enough shit all the time, you won't know the taste of something when it does taste good. And I could probably say the fact that I detoxed from some of this bad watching show shit is the reason why I'm looking at this shit with fresh eyes again and not just, oh, this is more the same shit. Because I'm not just looking for the things I find objectionable, that I don't agree with, that are not continuity. I'm not looking just for that. I'm looking to see the story that they tell me and how that resonates with me. And it resonated a lot. Some of the most poignant things I think about of that movie is wanting scenes from that movie pulled out so I can get a display or something like that and put it up on the wall just to show that scene of what it means to see that duality inside somebody's mind, that the shadow is coming out. Just to show what that means. Visually show what that means. I'm an artist. I wouldn't have thought of depicting it that way. I wouldn't have. Because I didn't. Yeah, Malika, Ghost Son is another son husband cautionary tale. It is. What's 50? The stories are, modern media is replete with this shit. It's also replete with the idea of that we're always supposed to idolize these evil people. Even the monsters. And sympathize and have empathy for them. This movie asks you a question about that shit. It does. It asks you a question about just that. And I thought that would be an interesting point for why critics and shit would hate this fucking movie. I said, oh yeah, they definitely gonna hate that shit. It's a commentary. A more artfully done commentary than the commentary that was done in The Matrix 4. But commentary nonetheless. Very artfully done. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie. You don't have to enjoy it. You don't have to agree. Um, but if you chance a view outside of the approved response to things, go watch the movie and decide for yourself what you think about the shit. Because that's all I ever asked you to do. I'm just giving you my opinion on it. You don't have to agree. I'm not looking for agreement. I look for understanding. And I think in hour and 46 minutes, I gave you enough information to understand where I'm coming from and looking at this movie and why I liked it. That's not the popular opinion. That's not a surprise. I'm not looking to be popular. I'm looking to be honest. And that can be a lonely place. So, what the world needs now is a cut. I appreciate you guys coming up here and watching me spit my spiel on this. Leave your comments below if you have something you want to say about this, if you listen through this whole thing. If your attention span is there for that. And I will see you guys tomorrow on the Hero's Journey at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And AB is coming up 7:30 for the Coliseum. So I may see you guys there, maybe ninja watching because I got some stuff I need to do here as well. But thank you. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. $ artisanmc or PayPal artisanmc. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.